Hello and welcome back to the next episode of the daily news analysis of the Hindu newspaper for UPSC 2025. As you know, today is 8th July, so it is our 8th class regarding the current affairs session. And if you are the first time visitor of this channel, I would like to introduce this channel to you guys. Every day we upload two videos. First one, we upload the video in which we discuss the current affairs which are very important for you, to reduce the time you spent in reading the newspapers. We give you the most important articles from the newspaper which are essential for you to crack any exam. And then with respect to that, in the evening or night session we upload another video in which we discuss the quiz, which is called the quiz session, in which we discuss the questions related to the current affairs which we would discuss right now. And we would take a few questions from the previous year question papers, and we would discuss them also, and we would try to show you the way how it is how you need to prepare, and how important the previous year question papers are, and how you can help them in eliminating the options in your upcoming exam. So guys, don't look at my introduction. I may fumble in my introduction, but trust me, when we start discussing these articles, I would try to explain these articles in a very simple language to you guys, so that it would be very much easy for you to remember them and use the information from them in your preparation. Trust me, everything will be fine. And please do subscribe to this channel, as when I see when you subscribe my channel, it motivates me to work harder and give better information to you guys. Thank you for staying. Now, coming to the topics which we have to discuss today, first we have to discuss about the expunction powers in parliament, in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Why we need to discuss these things, because we had seen how the new government was formed, and we all had seen the debates, whether you would had seen them on YouTube or the news channels. You would had seen how the opposition, how discussions were going on, and we would discuss in this phase how the expansion works and how it can be misused by the ruling party. Then we would discuss about the low carbon climate. In it we would discuss the need for the carbon legislation, or we can say environment legislation. How we would discuss about the recent judgment of Supreme Court, which is the tremendous judgment which can change the course of the lawmaking. Then we would discuss about the fiscal federalism and how the coalition government can impact it. Then we would discuss some important elements or important developments in Iran. We will discuss about India-UAE trade relations, how it is in little bit problem, and we will discuss about the volcanic eruptions in Italy, and then we will discuss the graphene. Now, let us start our discussion one by one in detail. First, we have to discuss about expunction powers in parliament. देखो, I would try to explain this in Urdu. Let's see how it works. If it does not work well, then I would come back to the English. You know, देखो कैसे होता है. हमने देखा कि रिसेंटली इलेक्शंस हुए और गवर्नमेंट बनी, नई गवर्नमेंट बनी, बट हमने ये भी देखा कि अपोजिशन इस वक्त स्ट्रांग है. तो इसके बिना पर क्या होता है, पहले जब गवर्नमेंट बनती है तो प्रेसिडेंट एड्रेस करता है दोनों हाउसेस को कि जॉइंट सेशन हो, उसके बाद मोशन ऑफ थैंक्स मूव की जाती है, फिर उसके बाद डिस्कशंस होते हैं. यूजुअली इस मोशन ऑफ थैंक्स में क्या करते हैं कि जो गवर्नमेंट वो अपनी अचीवमेंट्स बताती है, हमने क्या क्या किया, और उसके बारे में बात करती है, और फिर में भी वो अपना फ्यूचर ओपिनियन भी दे सकते हैं. लेकिन उसके बाद देन डिस्कशन स्टार्ट्स. जब डिस्कशन स्टार्ट होता है तो अपोजिशन क्रिटिसाइज करती है गवर्नमेंट को कि आपने कहाँ कहाँ गलत किया और क्या क्या चीज़ अच्छी होनी चाहिए. With this regard, we had seen everybody, I guess, who do use YouTube, जो भी use YouTube करता है या Facebook use करता है, who is on the social media, हमने देखा होगा राहुल गांधी का वो मतलब जो उसने बयान दिया, the discussion he held in the पार्लियामेंट, और फिर हमने बाकी अपोजिशन लीडर्स का भी देखा, देन वी सॉ कि कैसे काउंटर किया जाता था मतलब उनकी बातों को, मतलब कि वी डोंट हैव टू बी biased हियर, जस्ट वी हैव टू डिस्कस इट फॉर द सेक ऑफ आवर एग्जामिनेशन। तो उसके बिना पर इधर आता है फिर एक चीज आती है एक्सपंक्शन powers of the parliament. These powers are vested with the chairperson of the house, whether it might be the chairperson of Rajya Sabha or the speaker of the Lok Sabha. They have this power to expunct. ये expunction क्या होती है? If the chairperson, it is in his discretion, if he feels that there is any statement made by the leader in the house that goes, that is discriminatory, or that goes against you know that goes against decency, he can expunct that, वो मतलब उसको रिमूव करा सकता है from the record books. That is his power. मगर इसके बिना पर we have article, अगर हमने थोड़ी politics पढ़ी, we have article 105 which says that MPs can speak in parliament. They have this parliamentary privilege, right of the MP to speak. MPs can hold the local parliament accountable. We have article 105. Then we have article 75 also, which talks about the council of ministers are collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. So अगर हम देखेंगे जो मतलब this expunction power of the chairperson है, of the speaker है, then these articles go against those expunction power because their statements are taken back from the record books. So now the question arises here, जब हमारे पास article 105 है, when we have article 75, then how can we stop MPs speaking in the parliament when they have these articles in their back? But the question is, these articles are not absolute. They cannot make insulting statements to anybody. They can discuss with the MPs. They can challenge them. They can वो उनको कह सकते हैं कि आपने ये corrupt practice की or that, but they cannot insult them. They can't make derogatory statements. They can't make indecent statements. So then comes the rule books, rules 261 for Rajya Sabha, which talks about the expunction in Rajya Sabha, and we have rules 280 and 380 and 381 for Lok Sabha. तो मतलब कि this was in a nutshell about the expunction powers in parliament. What happened? Now let's recap it. We saw that new government was formed. We saw the great opposition they have. Opposition is the bedrock of the working government of the democracy. So we saw that the discussion, how joint address was given by the president, how motion of thanks was moved. Then we saw the discussion between the members of the house, how the opposition party, they talked about the failures of the previous government, how they talked about what मतलब कि वो discussion start हुए about the remarks they made on the prime minister and other ministers. With this comes expunction power of the parliament, which discreetly vests in the speaker and chairman of the houses. तो उसकी वजह से few statements were taken. Few statements of the opposition leaders were taken back. मतलब they were not recorded in the record books. तो इसके बिना पर there is a discussion which can be asked in the exam. For example, it may be asked in the mains exam also. What are how expansion powers are relevant in today's world, because अभी हमें we have the digital world right now, everything is recorded. जो भी मतलब recordings हो रही थी लोक सभा में या राज्य या पार्लियामेंट में, वो सारा लाइव ब्रॉडकास्ट हो रहा था, and these videos are with the public right now. अगर हम अब if these statements are expunged, अगर उनको निकाला जाता है, then how is it relevant, because it is available to people. So एक डिस्कशन हो सकता है इसके बारे में, डिस्कस अबाउट इट, या आपको प्रीलिम्स में इसके बारे में क्वेश्चंस पूछे जा सकते हैं कि रूल 261 एंड 380 के बारे में, मतलब कि एक्सपंक्शन पावर्स vested with the chairperson in which rule. फिर आपको ऑप्शन दिया जाएंगे, फिर आप इधर दे कैन आस्क क्वेश्चंस लाइक दैट आर्टिकल 105 के बारे में पूछ सकते, आर्टिकल 370 के बारे में पूछ सकते. सो देयर कैन बी डिफरेंट क्वेश्चंस व्हिच कुड बी आस्क्ड फ्रॉम टुडेज डिस्कशन अबाउट द एक्सपेंशन पावर ऑफ powers in parliament. So I hope I was very much able to explain this topic to you guys, and I was able to deliver the information which was in the article and which could be very much useful for you guys. Now, without wasting any time, let's move to the next article of today's discussion. It is about the low carbon climate legislations. You know why it is in news? Because of the SC Supreme Court's historic judgment in MK Ranjit Singh judgment case. What does the Supreme Court say? That Supreme Court here says, Supreme Court ruled it is a right to be free from adverse impact of climate change. It is a right of everyone to be free from the adverse impact of the climate change. This right is these rights are derived from Article 14, right to equality, and Article 21, right to life. So Supreme Court gave the historic judgment about the climate change, about the impact of climate change, that it is the right for everyone to be free from the adverse impact of climate change. Now, the author of today's article, what he tries to say, that it is the peak time for the legislators to bring the law which would which would be in line with the environment change, and every law which they will bring कि वो उसके in line में हो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर हम देखा कि वाई दिस इज व्हाट कि ये कहना चाहते हैं कि इस वक्त टाइम है कि जो लेजिस्लेचर से दे शुड यूज दिस जजमेंट ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट एंड ब्रिंग द लॉ विच वुड बी फॉर द बेटरमेंट ऑफ द क्लाइमेट चेंज, फॉर द बेटरमेंट ऑफ द क्लाइमेट. और जो भी फिर चीज़ें इन फ्यूचर जो भी लॉ लाया जाएगा, कि वो लॉ इस तरह से लाया जाएगा कि क्लाइमेट वाला सीन दे शुड कीप इन कि अपनी नज़रों में रखा जाए और बाकी लॉज लाए जाए टू प्रिवेंट द क्लाइमेट चेंज. तो अगर हम देखेंगे इफ वी वुड डिस्कस अबाउट वी वुड सी इन इट दैट व्हाट इज द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ क्लाइमेट चेंज. अगर यूजुअली जो क्लाइमेट चेंज का इम्पैक्ट, फॉर एग्जांपल वी सी adverse weather condition, we see heat waves, we see tsunamis, we see other impacts of the climate change. But if we would see the impact on whom it has more, we would definitely find that the poor and vulnerable section of the society is impacted more by the climate change. It has a disproportional impact on poor and vulnerable section of the society. So तो कि देयर इज नो इंक्लूसिवनेस इन इट. जो गरीब बेचारे होते हैं उन पे इसका इम्पैक्ट ज़्यादा रहता है. सो देयर इज अ नीड फॉर ए क्लाइमेट लेजिस्लेशन एट ऑल लेवल्स. एट द सेंट्रल लेवल देयर इज अ नीड, एट द स्टेट लेवल एंड एट द लोकल लेवल. अगर हम देखेंगे इस बिना पे व्हाई डज इंडिया स्टैंड राइट नाउ, जो है क्लाइमेट का जो क्लाइमेट कि how much we are contributing to the climate, where does India stand right now. तो हमें पता होना चाहिए अभी our per capita of emissions in India are very low as compared to other countries. दूसरी बात, India has low base of per capita emissions. We do have some space to rely on climate क्योंकि we are not well developed yet. हमारे पास अभी 10, 20, 30 साल है कि हम zero emissions तक पहुँचे as compared to other countries. Because हमने पहले भी ये डिस्कस किया है कि in developed countries they had already damaged the climate. Now they are वो पूरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी अब पूरी दुनिया में इक्वली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना चाहते हैं. बट दैट इज़ नॉट द केस, दैट इज़ नॉट फेयर विद द अंडर डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज और डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज, बिकॉज उन्होंने उतना यूज़ नहीं किया है तो उनका इम्पैक्ट भी उतना नहीं रहा है क्लाइमेट पे. इंडिया हैज़ ऑलवेज स्टैंडर्ड फॉर दिस स्टेटमेंट कि आपने तो पहले ही खराब किया है सब कुछ, नाउ यू आर पुटिंग दैट बर्डन ऑन अस टू. सो इट इज़ नॉट अनफेयर फॉर इंडिया और अदर सच कंट्रीज. तो विद दिस रिगार्ड अगर हम इंडिया का देखेंगे कि वो कितना इमिट कर रहे हैं, दे आर इमिटिंग वेरी लेस देन द यूएसए इज इमिटिंग. सो देयर इज नाउ हमारे पास टाइम है, वी है इंडिया हैज टाइम yet to reach to the zero emission. So तब तक के लिए हमें कुछ ऐसे लॉज होने चाहिए which would control the emission rate, which would keep the environment in check, which would keep everything in check, which would keep the carbon emissions in check. We need such laws which are very necessary. From this we can take the example of the disaster management act, which अगर हम देखेंगे डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट एक्ट कब लाया गया है, अगर हम देखेंगे इन अर्ली 2000s हमारे पास बहुत सारे ऐसे डिजास्टर्स हुए बट वी आर नॉट वेल प्रिपेयर्ड देन. तो फिर देयर वाज अ नीड फॉर द डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट एक्ट इन 2005. India prepared this disaster management act, then we enacted it, then we had National Disaster Management Act, State Disaster Management Act, District Disaster Management Acts. We brought it at all the three levels. और दूसरी बात the writer here what he tries to say that in enacting these laws India should look at other countries also who had already brought such laws. Right now we have 67 countries who had brought such laws. The author here specifically says that India should, while bringing these climate legislations, India should look at the laws brought by South Africa's Presidential Climate Committee. Then author also says that India should have also climate committee similar to the GST committee, in which all the CMs of the states should be involved in controlling these adverse impacts of the climate. इन नटशल अगर हम इस आर्टिकल को समझना चाहेंगे, पहले हम देखेंगे जो SC का हिस्टोरिक जजमेंट था कि राइट टू बी फ्री फ्रॉम एडवर्स इम्पैक्ट ऑफ क्लाइमेट चेंज. बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली जो क्लाइमेट चेंज का एडवर्स इम्पैक्ट सिर्फ उन पुअर एंड वल्नरेबल पे पाया जाता है, मतलब मोस्टली इन बेचारों पे. सो what the author tries to say here, मतलब this is the right time, जो SC ने भी judgment दी, it is the right time for the legislators to bring up the legislation which would help in revoking, or we can say preventing the climate itself, and which would stop the climate change, मतलब कि carbon emission को हम कम कर सकते हैं बाकी सारी चीज़ों को. right time हमें law, this is the right time to bring up such laws. जो भी फिर हम further actions देंगे, we will keep the climate in चेक. हम देखेंगे कि इसका और कोई भी लॉ लाएंगे, हाउ डज इट इम्पैक्ट द क्लाइमेट, वी वुड कीप द क्लाइमेट वाला मतलब डायरेक्शन उसमें रखेंगे, हर एक चीज़ रखेंगे. फिर इसी के बारे में उसके बाद जो ऑथर कहना चाहता है कि अगर हम देखेंगे अपनी इस वक्त इंडिया की सिचुएशन, वायर वी स्टैंड इन द क्लाइमेट चेंज, हमसे अभी उतना ख़राब नहीं हुआ है क्लाइमेट चेंज, क्योंकि हमारे पास वी आर डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज. अगर हम देखेंगे हमारा पर कैपिटा एमिशन अगर देखेंगे एज कम्पेयर टू अदर कंट्रीज, वी आर वेरी लो इन पर कैपिटा एमिशन. एंड ऑल्सो वी कैन से दैट कि हम वी आर स्टिल डेवलपिंग कंट्री, वी हैड सम टाइम to reach to zero emissions, so we need these climate legislations like other countries had brought in. The author says, मतलब फिर author कहता है कि we should look at the countries like South Africa, how they had brought the climate committees. Then he says India should also have a committee, climate council, like similar to the GST council. उसकी वजह से हर स्टेट चेक करे मतलब कि क्लाइमेट को. इट शुड बी वेरी इंक्लूसिव, मतलब कि फ्रॉम सेंटर टू स्टेट एवरीवन शुड बी इन्वॉल्वड इन इट. सो इन दिस वे आई थिंक this is enough about this article. So I hope you understood it. What is the take from this article? How we can such questions usually get asked in the mains exam, so we have to discuss about the first. We would, if such questions would be asked in our mains exam, we have to discuss about the situation of climate change in India overall. Then we would take up the judgment, this historic judgment, we would discuss about it. Then we would take up the change which we can bring in. We would take up the existing laws which we have. We may discuss about the disaster management laws. Then we can bring up the मतलब कि हमें क्या करना चाहिए, we should what way forward हमें देना है. So in this way we can write a good question for such questions, good answer for such questions. I hope you understood this article also. I hope I was able to deliver the information which is necessary in this article. Now moving to the third article of today's discussion, it talks about the fiscal federalism. Usually fiscal federalism, this is one of the most important article, most important thing in it. हमने देखा, जब there is not coalition in any government. जब coalition नहीं होते then this situation is very simple. मतलब कि हमारा मतलब कि जो funding होता है वो very simple रहता है. There is no extra pressure on the government. But right now the situation of our country is totally different. As we know, the ruling party NDA, जिसमें basically BJP it was they were not able to get the required amount of votes, required amount of seats in the parliamentary election, so they needed the support of the coalition and they had one. But इसमें एक impact है. Now there is a मतलब यहाँ पे एक scene होने वाला है जब भी these coalition partners of the government, of the party, of the BJP, they will always put pressure on them. These coalition parties will keep in consideration the benefits of their state only. मतलब कि हमारी स्टेट को ये चाहे. ऑलरेडी हमने देखा कि आंध्र प्रदेश is asking for special packages, बिहार वाली they are asking for special packages, so there is huge pressure on the BJP government. So अब इसी की वजह से क्या होता है, जो ये फिस्कल फेडरलिज्म है it would be impacted adversely. देखिए यूजुअली क्या होता है, वी हैव आर्टिकल 280 टॉक्स अबाउट द फाइनेंस कमीशन. मतलब वो फिर रिकमेंडेशन देते हैं हाउ these finances should be distributed from center to state and from state to states. Then this happens in simpler ways. लेकिन जब then we have article 282, it gives miscellaneous funds provided by center to certain states. Now this article 282 is very important for the government. They would try to please the coalition partners by giving them the special package through this law. So इसकी वजह से क्या हो सकता है, there is a discussion that कि by this the मतलब कि general funding would get affected, fiscal federalism would get affected, और इसमें हम देखेंगे कि एक fairness नहीं रहेगी. So this is the discussion of the author here. So what do we get from this article? We get article 2. What do we get from this article, fiscal federalism here? We get two things. We get the article 280 about the finance commission, 282 about miscellaneous funding to be provided to center. So these are important for us for the prelims, and in mains a question could be asked like, how does the coalition government impact the federal fiscal federalism or simple federalism? Such questions in that way can be asked in the exam. Now forward to the next topic. It talks about the recent developments in Iran. We had seen how the situation in Middle East is different right now. मतलब कि उधर the war going in Gaza, how countries are supporting it, the active role played by Iran in that, and usually the tensions between US and Iran, it is wide open to everybody. But here we have to discuss the developments in Iran. We saw that recently in a helicopter accident, the president of Iran died. Whatever the reason is, now the new president is elected, and it is said that he is from the reformist element. जो ईरान का president है, that is not that much powerful, but he does have an impact. In Iran, we see the Ayatollah Khomeini, who is the supreme head. They have the supreme leader under his control everything is. The president is under his control, army is under his control, education is under his control. So in a way it is not that impactful, but in different ways we can say it is very much impactful. The president, he is from the reformist element. The earlier president was from the conservative element. We saw that how he was against moral policing, how the president who is elected, he is against moral policing. He believed in gender rights. Or जो पुराना president था, he was totally against these ideas. Now it is said that he is the reformist element, and it is believed that right now is the peak time for the countries to get involved in the politics of Iran and to to stabilize the country. It is said by the author. Now let us see what will happen. By time everything will be wide open to us, and we would find out how he's playing his role in the government. Now, moving to the next, from before moving to the next article, let's recap this article. Let's see what we can get from it for in the perspective of mains and prelims. I don't see much for our prelims, but a question from the mains can be asked. It can be in such a way that how ईरान प्लीज हाउ द मतलब कि ऐसा क्वेश्चन पूछा जाएगा कि मतलब स्टेबिलिटी इन मिडल ईस्ट कैसे ला सकती है, या ईरान रोल इन ब्रिंगिंग द स्टेबिलिटी ऑफ मिडल ईस्ट, हाउ इंडिया कैन play in bringing the stability of Middle East. In that we can discuss about the Iran's role, our relation with the Iran, which was degrading, but right now our relation with Iran is getting very much stable. We can say how we can write in our paper that how we can use this opportunity to bring stability in the country, in the region. Moving forward to the next article, it talks about India UAE trade relations. This India UAE trade relation in 2022, we signed CEPA, which is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with the UAE. It provides for duty-free access of majority of goods, and we should also know that the UAE is one of the top trader of India. Under this CEPA, 80 to 90% of goods enjoy duty-free entry. Usually, this CEPA was signed for the jewelry and gold. मतलब कि उसके बारे में this treaty was signed to benefit that. But मतलब कि it was signed to benefit the jewelry and gold industry. लेकिन there are some concerns with it due to the gift city in Gujarat. वहाँ पे क्या हुआ कि some of the traders has imported massive gold and silver in gift city, क्योंकि मतलब कि वो backdoor entry we can say कि उन्होंने they had used this CEPA for their personal advantage, and now silver imported jumped more than 200%. It has a very bad impact on it, क्योंकि जो मतलब कि import of silver and gold, it is mainly regulated by the RBI. Now, if these private traders import it for their personal use, it would impact the economy. It could lead to the inflation in the country. That is how, and the trade relation between the countries could be impacted. Right now, this is the concern here that this amount of silver and gold was brought in the gift city. Was brought in from the UAE in the gift city of the Gujarat. Now, मतलब कि UAE, they are rich in gold and silver, and in India we convert that gold and silver in jewelry and we export that into the UAE. So in this way, this trade used to happen. With this regard, we had this gift city in Gujarat, which where all this stuff was मतलब ऐसे मतलब this such things used to happen there. फिर क्या then what happened हुआ क्या, there are few private traders, they brought massive gold and silver and used this CEPA in their way illegally. So now there is concern of this concern would be discussed between the countries, and we will see what will happen in further. What did we understood from this article? Let's recap it. हमने 2022 में Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement साइन किया यूए के साथ, which gives duty free access to majority of goods, especially for gold and silver and jewelry. हम gold and silver import करते हैं from UAE and उसको convert करते हैं into jewelry, and then we export this jewelry to the UAE. So there arose a concern with the gift city, क्योंकि वहाँ पे कुछ private traders थे, they imported massive gold and silver. जो silver import jumped more than 200%. उसकी वजह से कहा जाता है कि they used this CEPA agreement for their own personal goals, और मतलब कि it is like smuggling we can say, मतलब कि उस category में आता है. So there are concerns related to it, and we should know that mostly the silver and gold import is regulated by the RBI. So these are few things which we need to know from this article. Now coming to the next article of today's discussion, it talks about the volcanic eruptions in Italy. We know that Italy comes into the active tectonic zone. We have Mount Etna there, which erupted again, and it is the largest active volcano there, and has disrupted air traffic also. And also, we should know that there is a Mount Stromli, which is also another active volcano in Italy. You know how question can be framed from here. It is mostly prelims based questions can be formed like Mount Etna, to which country it belongs, or Mount Etna, whether it is block mountain or another type. So about this we will discuss in our quiz session also. So don't worry. Right now, what we need to know is that it is the active tectonic. It comes into the active tectonic zone. There is a Mount Etna, which is the largest active volcano. It gets erupted usually, and because of the recent eruption of Mount Etna, it has disturbed the air traffic also. Now coming to the last article of today's discussion, it talks about the graphene. It is one of the most beautiful, element of the world. It is called wonder material. You know, we should know that it is the allotrope of carbon. You know what the allotrope is, in the same element in different shapes. We can say it is a carbon itself. Carbon ही होता है. It is a single atom thick layer of carbon. इसका structure कैसा है? It has the honeycomb structure. It has tremendous applications. It is very versatile. जो graphene होता है, it is very versatile. It is very highly conductor. It can be used as a nanomaterials. You know, right now nanomaterials are changing the course of the industry itself. It is very elastic, malleable, and very light too. Or it can be used in semiconductor industry. It can be used in automobile industry. It can be used in concrete industry and others. Wherever it can be used in aerospace industry. Wherever we find the need of graphene, we can use it. So this is little information about graphene. I hope you understood it. So let's recap it. It is a wonder material, allotrope of carbon. It is a single atom thick layer of carbon. Its structure is honeycomb. Tremendous applications can be used in nanomaterials, semiconductors, and other industries. Now with this we complete our today's discussion of current affairs. Now let's recap as we do every day. Let's see what we had discussed in today's discussion. जो सबसे पहला हमने पहला आर्टिकल देखा, it was about the expunction powers in parliament. We discussed that these powers lie with the chairperson of the house, whether chairman or speaker. और expunction powers क्या होते हैं कि derogatory or indecent statements made in the house. मगर हमें ये भी पता है कि we have article 105 where speaker can speak, he has the protection. Then article 75 that cabinet of ministers is responsible to the Lok Sabha. But are these मतलब जो article 105 it is not मतलब कि ये as an absolute right नहीं है. It has restrictions also. An MP a Lok Sabha member cannot say everything what he wants. MP cannot speak insulting remarks. Yeah, they can question the ministers, but they have to question them within a limited language. So with this regard, in this मतलब कि discussion में हमने फिर देखा कि expunction powers कैसे speaker expung करता है, मतलब कुछ words he orders to expung these from the record books. Then we have rule 261 for Rajya Sabha, rule 380 and 381 for Lok Sabha. उसके बाद हमने पढ़ा carbon low carbon climate emissions के बारे में, how laws should be made about it. We discussed about M.K. Ranjit Singh judgment in which SC ruled it is a right to be free from adverse impact of climate change. फिर author कैसे बताता था कि right now it is the peak time that India should also bring laws like the other countries have brought for the climate. कैसे हम उसको स्टॉप कर सकते हैं, एंड हाउ वी कैन यूज दीज लॉज इन अदर लॉज, मतलब कि जब भी हम कुछ फ्रेम करें। देन उसके बाद हमने देन वी डिस्कस्ड अबाउट the fiscal federalism, how coalition government can impact the fiscal federalism, मतलब कैसे जो coalition में government होगी how they would drag the ruling party के आप हमारी स्टेट को ज़्यादा फेवर करें as compared to other states, how this would lead to the unfairness in the federalism. Then we discussed about the recent developments in Iran, the new president being elected from the reformist sector, and how it is the peak time for the world to interfere and stable the conditions there. Then we discussed about India UAE trade relations, about the CEPA 2022. We discussed about the free, usually it was for gold and silver and jewelries, how we import gold and silver from UAE and how we export the jewelries to them. But we saw that it is being misused by private members for their own benefits, and it gives, now there is a concern of this agreement, for this agreement. Then we discussed about the volcanic eruptions in Italy. We discussed about Mount Etna. We would discuss more about it in our prelims section also. We would frame some questions by which you can understand it more properly. Then we discussed about the graphene, how it can be used in different industries, how we discuss about it as an allotrope of carbon, single atom thick layer of carbon. It has the honeycomb structure and it is a nanomaterial, how it can be used. It has superconducting features, it is malleable, ductile, and other, it is malleable, very elastic, and other qualities of it like lightweight. So with this we conclude our discussion. I hope this today's class was very useful for you. I hope that I was able to give the information to you guys in a better way. I hope I made it simple for you rather complicating it. Usually no subject, I personally believe in that no subject is tough, but it is the guide, it is the teacher who makes it tough or easy. I hope that I made these discussions very easy for you. I hope that you are able to take the most from this. So thank you for staying with me, thank you very much, and please do subscribe to this channel.